A lot went down in week 7, guys. I'm going to do my best to catch you guys up on some of the injuries that are really going to impact the waiver wire. It's not the deepest waiver wire, I'm going to be honest with you, but there are some big names, man. Some guys that I think are going to have rest of season value. So in this video, we're going to talk about some of those key injuries. We're going to talk about the priority waiver ads. And I'm going to give you guys some FAAB recommendations for a couple of them, a couple of the big name guys. Not sure how helpful that is at this point in the season when it comes to FAAB. We're going to talk about some of the injuries from the top first. We got Jayden Daniels. He has a hamstring injury. Mariota should be up next. Jayden Daniels, it looks like it's going to be temporary. It looks like it's not going to be like a big long-term hamstring. It might be like 1 or 2 weeks. Bryce Young, he had a high ankle sprain, which means Andy Dalton's going to be starting for a while, a couple of weeks, man. High ankle sprains tend to linger. Michael Penix Jr. at the end of the game, he gets knocked out of it. He gave the thumbs up. There's a quote. He gave me the thumbs up on the sideline where we were asking him if he was okay to finish. We'll see how he feels tomorrow. We haven't really received an update. Breece Hall came back into the game. He was in and out of the game a couple times, but he came back in, finished the game. Isaiah Davis is a very important handcuff. Nevertheless, man, make sure you guys pick him up. We'll talk about him a little bit more later. Kendre Miller, season-ending ACL injury. Looks like it's going to be Devin Neal up next as a backup. I don't know if he's going to take work from Kamara. I think there's a chance that Kamara just ends up being like a top 15 guy rest of the season. Probably gets a lot of the work he was losing to Kendre, just siphons over to Kamara. Then we got Kareem Hunt, man. I don't know if anybody has any more info on him, but it looked like a season-ending injury, but he came back into the game. I saw his ass running around for like 1 yard per carry after that, but he came back, so it looks like he's fine. Brian Thomas Jr., man, he's got bitchitis. He's got scared of going down the middle of field-itis. I'm kidding, but honestly, he's been banged up the whole season, man. He's been dealing with like a wrist injury the whole season. Looked like he hit his shoulder. He was holding it very tenderly, walking off the field very gingerly. So hopefully the bye week can get him right, not only physically, but also mentally. Dude, he needs to hit a wellness hotel or something, man. I think the play that got him injured was like a jump ball. It would have been like a 30-yard catch. He jumps up for it. It's a hospital ball, essentially. He jumps up. There's contact. He lands pretty hard on like his right side. After that, he looked banged up the rest of the game. I don't think he got another, like, I think he got maybe one more, like, downfield target after that. Just a tough game in general, man. If you guys watched the game, the Rams defense is legit, but Brian Thomas had, like, 2 bona fide drops. He just didn't have a lot of chemistry with Trevor Lawrence to look like. I am just praying that Mac Jones somehow finds his way on this team again. Chris Olave, he goes to the medical tent 2 or 3 times per game. This time looks like he injected some compound V because he came out, had 2 touchdowns after that. The dude essentially has like a reservation for the blue medical tent. Every game, he's got to go there 2 or 3 times, get checked out for something that looks like a season-ending injury, and then come back in and be fine, dude. That's just Chris Olave. So it looks like he's fine. I wouldn't worry about that. Darren Waller, pectoral injury. If it's a strain, it's short term. If it's a tear, he's probably going to be out for a while. That's what I heard based on some fantasy doctors. It was a matter of time, right? We knew the theme park was going to close for Darren Waller. He was great for those couple weeks, but we just knew, man, the theme park is closing. We knew that the injury would come sooner or later. I think he made a deal with like Mephisto or Satan or something, man, because, you know, he was great for a little. He traded his soul for some good weeks, and now he's injured yet again, man. That's just the Darren Waller experience. Cole Kmet, back injury, didn't return to the game for the Bears. This is interesting. Colston Leveland is someone, obviously, they drafted him super high. They want to get him involved. The post-bye week bump was very cruel, dude. I am a Odunze truther. He was a my guy this season. Coming out of the bye week, so far, he's had less than 20% first read share. In the first, like, 4 weeks, he had, like, 30% plus first read target share. We are cooked. We are absolutely cooked, man. Like, usually bye weeks are good for the best players on the team, but it looks like they just want to get fucking Olamide Zaccheaus involved. And DeAndre Swift, who, he looks great, but goddamn, dude, can we get Odunze a couple more looks? All right, let's talk about handcuffs, man. Everybody's healthy. No starting running back. None of the older guys are getting injured. Everybody is just kind of slugging along, which means something could happen soon, dude. There's something brewing, man. I feel like a big-time injury to a top running back could be coming soon. Make sure you guys pick up the handcuffs, especially the high-value ones. Bhayshul Tuten, he's a prio, dude. ETN 3 weeks in a row now. Looking really bad. He's getting most of the work, but he's just not looking very good. I'm not saying Tuten's going to take over, but if ETN gets injured, which, you know, he has been in the past, Bhayshul Tuten is like an auto top 15 star potentially. Isaiah Davis, as I mentioned earlier, he's a must-add, dude. Breece Hall could get traded. He got banged up in the last game. I think he's going to get traded, bro. I think the vibes are so horrendous. Every single interview, he's now saying, like, you know, it's 3 years now, 4 years now that we've been bad. This is getting tiring, all that kind of stuff. I think he's on his way out. Like Cora, make sure he's picked up, dude. You know, DJ Giddens and Amir Abdullah, who actually look pretty decent for the Colts, man. I think if Jonathan Taylor were to go down, which hopefully he doesn't. I mean, hopefully he does because I don't have him in any league. But if he were to go down, I don't think it's going to be only Giddens. I think it's going to be Abdullah and Giddens sharing the backfield. So maybe you fade both of them because of that. You don't want to hold 2 guys on your roster. Tyler Allgeier must add, you know, if Bijan were to go down, there's a really good team with really good defense. They want to run the ball. Allgeier is definitely serviceable. He's definitely a good running back. Will Shipley make sure he's picked up? Saquon has not not been very good. I'm just afraid that Tank Bigsby comes in when Saquon goes down, but it looks like it's going to be Shipley. Jerome Ford, not only is he a trade candidate, but if Judkins were to go down, he probably steps into like a early down role. I think Sampson reclaims his third down role he used to have. Ray Davis for James Cook, obviously make sure he's picked up. He could have been dropped because of the bye week. And Keaton Mitchell, man, I think he's definitely someone to pick up because I do think the Ravens are going to try to make a run here. They're like 1-5, and I really do think that they could make the playoffs, man. They have a pretty decent schedule. Lamar's coming back. Everybody's healthy. But make sure Keaton Mitchell is picked up because Derrick Henry, dude, he's in that age. You know, he's got the workload and an injury could come any minute. And I do think it's Keaton that'll take the early down stuff. As I mentioned, he got injured. Brashard Smith is going to be later on in this list, so we'll talk about him a little later. Jayden Blue, he's the backup for Javonte Williams. Javonte's had injury history in the past. Tyrone Tracy got a little bit of work, and then Devin Neal, he's now the backup to Kamara. There's probably some guys that I forgot, but let's move on now. All right, guys, we got the waiver wire board. We'll go through this pretty quickly, man. We got running backs here. Top of the list is Kyle Monangai. As I mentioned, he got a lot of work, dude. Not all of it was in garbage time. It looks like they want to create a little bit of a two-back committee here with the Bears. So Kyle Monangai, in my opinion, is probably a priority running back pickup for the week. He's somebody who this team was really excited about in the offseason, and we're seeing after the bye week, he's getting more and more work. It started last week, and it continued this week. He actually had like 15 fantasy points, man. Brashard Smith, similarly, we've been kind of talking about him for the past couple of weeks. Finally, when I drop him and I'm like, all right, just not getting enough snaps, he gets a shit ton of snaps. But keep in mind, this was without Patrick Mahomes. It was garbage time fully. He was getting not only receptions with Mahomes, but he started getting like between the tackles early down work as well as just like the garbage time running back. So they want to see what they have him in him. They like him as a receiving back. So he's somebody that if you're in a PPR league and you're absolutely desperate, you can pick him up and you can probably start him like at your flex. Tyjae Spears as well. We were kind of hype about him going into this coaching change, but he didn't really do too much. Tony Pollard was essentially splitting the backfield with him. I think it was like a 60-40 if I remember. Tyrone Tracy actually popped up for a touchdown. Didn't get a lot of work, but he's a really valuable handcuff at this point, man, because Cam Scatterbo, I don't know if you guys are watching the games, man. He's a bowling ball. He's a muscle hamster. He is seeking CTE every single time he gets the ball. He's looking for contact. He's the perfect prototypical type of player to get injured, man. So we got to pick up Tyrone Tracy. Bhayshul Tuten, as I mentioned, one of the most valuable handcuffs. This is a really good offensive line. It's usually a decent offense. I mean, the Rams just completely suffocated them, dude. If ETN keeps looking inefficient, I feel like they have to give Bhayshul Tuten a little bit more work. Then we switch over to wide receivers. Kayshon Boutte, he's very boom bust. He doesn't get a lot of volume, but he seems to be a mainstay on this offense. He's running a lot of routes. He gets the deep touchdown in this game. Alec Pierce as well. He's a full-time player for this Colts off. He's the deep down the field threat. They take a couple shots to him a game. He ended up getting like 12 fantasy points in this game. He's looked great, man. And they're like expanding his route tree as well. Alec Pierce is my favorite like desperation play. If you just need like a desperation flex, he's one of my favorites. The reason I don't have him marked as green is because Josh Downs should be coming back off the concussion from last week. And when Josh Downs is in, obviously Alec Pierce doesn't get 9 targets a game. That stuff usually goes over to Josh Downs. Parker Washington getting zero criticism, even though he had more drops than Brian Thomas, but they're feeding this man, dude. They're giving him like 8 to 10 targets. He's a punt returner. He had a punt return touchdown that was called back. So this is a dude that, again, if you're desperate, he's somebody that you can pick up to put him at the end of your bench. Let's see what happens with this injury to Brian Thomas. I think Parker Washington is kind of like a must add because of that. If it turns out to be like a torn shoulder or a dislocated shoulder, that might put Brian Thomas out for an extended period, maybe even season ending if it's like a torn shoulder, which puts Parker Washington into a wide receiver 2 role. I mean, Travis Hunter is going to be the main guy on the team for sure, but it seems like they're adamant on feeding Washington. I have him as kind of a priority. I have him here as orange. He's somebody that I would definitely pick up. Jaylen Nowell, dude, I have him start here because the dude last night gets like 8 targets. He leads the team in targets. Nico Collins gets a concussion. They're past the bye week. They said during the bye week that they do want to get their rookies more involved. Higgins ends up doing nothing this week. Jaylen Nowell is the guy who actually leads the team in targets. So, Christian Kirk was out with a hamstring. So does that mean Christian Kirk gets shopped? Maybe Jaylen Nowell just takes the job because of that. I have him starred because I love the usage and I love the fact that Nico had a concussion. I mean, I don't love that, but in terms of like the usage or the opportunity, Jalen Coker is something that I was high on. I had him stashed on IR. I was hoping that coming back from IR that he'd be a little bit more involved in that first week, but it looks like they're really babying him along. And on top of it, Xavier Legette had a good game. We kind of needed Legette to be ass like he usually is, and then Coker to kind of have a nice little workload. So moving forward, I'm just not really sure, man. I don't know if Jalen Coker is going to have a role if Xavier Legette remains this decent, right? He actually looked pretty good. Bryce Young is out. It's Andy Dalton. Maybe they get Coker more involved. Maybe Legette takes another step back like he usually is. And then Jaden Higgins. I just have to put him on the list because of the Nico Collins injury. It probably will be Higgins, maybe Hutchinson that takes over some of that work. I feel like it should be Higgins, right? Higgins is the guy that they drafted ahead of even Jaylen Nowell. Honorary mention to Xavier Hutchinson if Higgins is already picked up. If Hutchinson's on the waiver wire, pick him up. You know, if you have an extra bench spot and you want to see what happens with Nico Collins, then we move over to the tight ends, man. The number one pickup of the week is Aronde Gadsden. He was, escalating route share, escalating snap share throughout the entire season. Ends up absolutely feasting. Now, look, no one was projecting this to happen. Quentin Johnston being back, people were expecting Oronde to actually take a step back, right? Because in week 6, Gadsden had like 8 targets, but we were like, oh, it's not going to stay because Quentin is out. As soon as Quentin is back, Gadsden's going to take a step back. I don't know how you put the toothpaste back in the tube at this point. I mean, he looked phenomenal, dude. He had like 160 yards, busting off big plays, great at the catch, great after the catch, a really good smooth route runner. This is a situation where this team is going to be forced to throw the ball quite a lot. Justin Herbert is probably one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL at the moment, dealing with this really bad offensive line. You got to put respect on this man. Obviously, the hesitation here is you just never know who it's going to be any given week, man. It could be, Quentin one game, it could be Keaton the next game, Ladd the next game. Their offensive line could get better, which means then they'll be running the ball a little bit more. There might not be like 50 pass attempts every single game. This is a super negative game script, so keep that in mind. But nevertheless, dude, he looked great. We have to pick him up because of the upside of what he can do. He's essentially an every week starter at this point, just on such a good offense with such a bad run game. And then Pat Freiermuth pops up for 2 touchdowns. I don't know if it's sustainable, but pick him up just in case this team ends up wanting to lean toward him a little bit more because of how good he looked. It's just one of those situations, man, where when a guy gets 2 touchdowns and looks really involved for like the first time on the season, it could be a thing where out of the bye week, they're like, all right, dude, let's get Pat Freiermuth back involved. He's been somebody that is creating mismatches for us. I wouldn't trust them too much. I would probably play the matchups when they're potentially losing and losing game scripts. That's when I'd want to roll a guy like that out. At the end of the day, if Rodgers creates a chemistry with someone and we see the chemistry and he wants to lean on that, it's something we kind of have to go after. Next, we got Jackson Dart, which either number 2 or number 3 quarterback on the week based on your scoring. He looked great, dude. Against this Broncos defense, this is a huge test for me. He had a really tough stretch of games where he had Philly, Broncos, then he has Philly next week. And so far, man, he scored over 20 fantasy points at both weeks. He had 29 fantasy points in 4-point passing touchdown. He looked phenomenal, dude. He's somebody where, similar to Jayden Daniels last season, he's like a cheat code quarterback, right? He's young, he's sprite, he's youthful, he's running the ball, dude. He's slinging it. This is an offense that doesn't have a lot of weapons, but he still looks really good. He's still producing without any weapons. Imagine if they make a trade for Jaylen Waddle, dude, and that opens up the downfield stuff even more. They have competent tight ends that can score touchdowns. They have Wan'Dale Robinson, who actually looks pretty decent, man. He doesn't just look like the same Wan'Dale scam that he used to be. Jackson Dart is one of my favorite, like, league-winning quarterbacks, man. Going down the stretch, his schedule gets a little bit better after this next Eagles game. He's somebody that I'd feel very confident starting in a one-quarterback league easily, dude, easily. I feel like he might be top 10 because of the rushing upside. I don't really know. I haven't, like, looked at all the quarterbacks, looked at the rest of the season rankings. I really need to figure that out, but nevertheless, top priority, man. Matthew Stafford, I don't have him as a top priority because they're going into a bye week, but he has also looked phenomenal. He's coming off 5 touchdowns. Poor Kyron Williams managers, man. If you had Kyron, they got like to the 5-yard line multiple times. Every time you think it's gonna be Kyron that punches it in like it usually is, fucking fade pass to Devontae Adams, dude. Brutal, absolutely brutal if you're a Kyron owner. Then Evan Ingram, look, it sucked starting Ingram. I've been starting him the past couple weeks. He's getting some work, but he's not getting end zone looks, man. He's not getting touchdowns. In a game where it was negative game script, he was going into the 4th quarter with like 2 fantasy points and then just accrues a bunch of like garbage time catches and targets, right? He had like 8 catches. I believe he had like 8 fantasy points on that. There's just not enough here. He runs one route. He's running like a intermediate crosser, like a small slant route down the middle of the field. And unless the linebacker, whoever's covering him, is just completely like behind him, he's not really able to do much after the catch with that. We saw in the preseason, like he had 1 catch in the preseason, which was that exact route. It was like a crosser that he busted off for 60 yards. And then they sat him the rest of the preseason. Everyone was drafting the fuck out of him because of that. We're like, holy shit, he's going to be a yards after catch monster in this offense. It just hasn't happened, right? That's the problem with that route, with that short crosser, is that, in the preseason, it could work because you're outrunning dudes, but people are privy to it now, man. They know that that shit's coming. They know that that's like the one route that you're running, so they're just loading up on them. And when it comes to FAAB recommendation, man, I said I'll talk about FAAB. Essentially, the way that I see it is that Monangai, Gadsden, and Dart are guys that I'm willing to spend like 20% plus on my FAAB on, of whatever I have left, right? Gadsden specifically, dude, if you're really bad at tight end and you're like me and you're starting Evan Ingram, you're starting Zach Ertz, I think Gadsden's somebody you got to drop like 25 bucks on or 25% of your FAAB. Honestly, dude, he's just someone who has so much upside on such a good offense. Kyle Monangai, also 20% plus. Looks like he's going to be in that, like, I don't know, David Montgomery, Jahmyr Gibbs role. I don't know who's Monty, who's Gibbs. Probably he'd be the Monty, but not quite. It's kind of a different backfield. Jackson Dart, if you need a quarterback, if you don't have like a top 5 guy, I'd probably pay like 30% plus, man. At the end of the day, he's just performing, dude. He's performed against good defenses. He performs against bad defenses. He looks great. He's not injured. So Jaylen Nowell, probably 10%, not even 5 to 10% probably. Kayshon Boutte, he should probably be green if I'm honest, man. Like, I think we got to just pick him up. Yeah, we got to pick up Kayshon Boutte at this point. I mean, he spend 10 to 15% on him. He's on a good offense. He has a good quarterback. So Boutte is somebody that, yeah, he probably gets the star, right? He is inconsistent, but at the end of the day, he gets like end zone targets. He's on a good offense. He's got Drake May, probably one of the better young quarterbacks throwing him the ball. Brashard Smith, you can spend like 5% on him. Tyrone Tracy is also interesting. Tyrone Tracy and Tuten are two really valuable handcuffs. So if you're in a league where people are spending money even on handcuffs, spend what you got to spend, man. If you're down bad at running back and you're taking dart throws, you're looking for guys, you're trying to play the handcuff lottery. I think these are two guys that if the starter ahead of them goes down, they'd probably get like close to full-time work, right? Tuden does have LaQuint Allen behind him, so I don't know if he'd get like a full workload. That does it for the video, guys. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for giving me your time. If you guys want specific help on like FAAB recommendations or maybe some trade advice, join the Discord down below. The link will be in the comments as well as the description. Join it, ask your questions. It's community driven. You're going to get help from a lot of sharp people in the league. You can throw up a poll in there and we'll vote on who to start, who to trade for, and all that kind of stuff. I'll catch you guys in the next video where we are going to be talking about running back trade targets. Make sure you guys like the video if you do like it, if you want to help support me, and subscribe if you do want to catch future videos. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.